Today, I'm joined by Zach Davies, who speaks about his journey and experiences whilst working within education. Zach currently works at Alveston Moor Academy, part of Archway Learning Trust. He now leads on alternative provision and the nuts and bolts of running a busy secondary, and he's someone who's moved fast through the ranks by putting culture, care, and high expectations first. At the time of recording this podcast, Zach was not leading on alternative provision, but was working across different roles within the academy. He's also been recognised across the trust as Staff Member of the Year for the impact he's had on teams and students. A real pleasure to sit down with Zach and listen to the experiences he has had so far in his career. I hope you all enjoy listening. Introducing the After School Club with Zach Davies.
Zach, welcome to the podcast. How are you doing?
I'm good, Max. I'm good. How are you?
Good. Very well, thank you. Thanks for asking. First of all, thank you so much for joining us and taking time out of your very, very busy schedule. I know. But we really, really do appreciate it. So just for everyone listening, can you just introduce yourself and explain your current role and where you work at the moment?
Yeah,
please?
so I'm Zach Davies. I am Associate Assistant Principal and Academy Manager here where we're filming today at Alveston Moor Academy, which is in Derby. So Alveston Moor itself is a fairly sized secondary school, so we've got just shy of 900 students to date, with ambitions, over the next couple of years, that will increase upwards of 1,000, more towards the 1,200 mark. And Associate Assistant Principal is a senior leader position within the school, focusing on some strategic responsibilities, primarily for me. I'm the timetabler and supporting with examinations. And then Academy Manager is a hybrid version of what you would know as a school business manager.
Right.
Managing HR, finance functions, governance and stuff across the academy.
Sounds like an awful lot on your plate then.
Yeah, it's a busy role. Keeps me going.
Yeah, it sounds like it. So we will get into a little bit more about, your role and leadership within your role and how you navigate through that. I kind of just want to ask a little bit about how you first got into education and actually what inspires you to work in education every single day.
Yeah, it's interesting because I probably did the unorthodox way of going into education, so to speak, and so I started immediately after I finished my GCSEs. So I left the school in Nottingham doing my GCSEs in June. I then had a nice little summer holiday, had a nice villa in Spain, and then came back and started working at exactly the same school in September.
Oh wow! So you went from a student to working at the same school.
Yeah, and had
Must have been strange.
It was strange. At the first year, it was difficult because you go from that. So you get a different level of respect from who were your teachers to now being your colleagues, and you stop saying Mr. Smith and you start saying hi Joe, know, and it's interesting, and changing that dynamic, not just for me, but also getting staff, it's common. So getting staff to change that dynamic and that respect as well.
And how was the application process of, you see this job advertised as a student, but then getting people to take you seriously and actually apply for the role and going through that stage?
Yeah, again, I think I was fortunate in the fact that school at the time was a local authority school. So I'd applied for a local authority apprenticeship.
Right.
They phoned me up and they said, Zach, brilliant news. We've secured you an interview. I want you to go there. It's at this school. And I immediately said no. Immediately turned around and was like, no, not interested. I'd love an apprenticeship. That's what I want to do. But
anywhere but there.
It's the same place I left. I've just spent 5 years there. Just finished my exams. I don't want to go back. I put the phone down and said, yeah, fine. 2 days later, phoned me up going, no, we really need you. And now, given my experience, that's because I was probably the only applicant. So, yeah, I went to the interview, which was the day before my GCSE results day. So I was appointed to the post the day before GCSE results day. I remember it. And on results day, it was weird. Everyone had already found out, like they had a staff meeting just that morning going, FYI, Zach's joining the team.
Right.
And make sure you speak to him when he rocks up to collect his GCSEs. Let's hope he's passed.
Yeah.
Because they took a gamble, essentially. And I'd like to say it's paid off. I spent 5 years there before I decided to move on. So.
Yeah. And I'm assuming your grades were all right then.
They were all right. They were all passes. They weren't A stars. They weren't A stars, but they were passes. So we were good.
Great. And what role was that then that you first went into at the school?
It was a business admin apprenticeship. So I worked in the office, back office. As a student, you don't know that things exist. Yeah. You don't see it.
Yeah.
It's just behind a locked door, and you don't know what those people do. So I worked there for a year. It was a year's contract, doing the level 2 apprenticeship, covering reception where that was needed, back office stuff. Yeah, it was great. I loved it.
Yeah. And if you don't mind me asking, how long ago was that?
That was 10 years ago.
Wow.
So
okay.
yeah, my career to date is 10 years.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, which again we'll get into, but it seems like a hell of a progression to go from
Quick.
that apprenticeship to where you are now.
yeah, it's quick. I've done 10 years from an administrator, a receptionist, to being sat around the senior leadership table, sitting in front of Ofsted, making strategic decisions on the school
Yeah.
and what happens eventually the future of Alveston Moor.
Yeah, and in the grand scheme of things, 10 years is really not long at all.
No, it's not long in time, not at all. It's taken it out of me.
Yeah, yeah, I feel older.
I feel a lot older.
Yeah, it's funny because you're speaking about the role you first started in, and actually we've worked together for a long time, and I remember you in that role at that school actually. So even now, for me to come in and see you in the role you're in now, it's kind of mind blowing to be honest.
Wow.
So congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so if we rewinded a little bit more. And your school experience, I really want to dive into actually what were you like in the classroom and what was your school experience like in an inner city school that you went to?
Yeah, so it was interesting. People won't believe it, and this will go out, and people won't believe it. I was shy. I was quiet.
No way.
Yeah, I kept myself to myself.
Yeah.
And now, I'm getting the daggers around the senior leadership table telling me to stop putting my point forward. Now I've been heard. So it's interesting how the dynamic has changed and where that development and that confidence, I'd say, has come from. But yeah, back at school, shy, kept myself to myself. I'd go routine. I'd get my jacket potato every single day.
Yeah.
I'd sit there, eat it, go sit in the corridor and wait till the next lesson.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because I never particularly enjoyed school. And I think there was a couple of reasons for that. So when I started at the school, I lived quite local. And then at the end of year 8, beginning of year 9, the family relocated to the other side of Nottingham. But we made the decision, and I made the decision that I wasn't going to relocate schools. And I opted to stay. And we were just going to see how it was going to pan out. But essentially meant I had to leave my house at 6:05 and a bus into the centre of Nottingham. And another bus out of the centre of Nottingham, get into school, and do the school day, and then do the same return journey home, not getting home, rush hour of traffic, 5:30, 6 o'clock. Right. And then I ended up doing that every day for 3 years.
Right.
So
out of choice, though?
Out of choice, yeah. I never wanted to leave. And I think that's a sign of the school. I felt, as much as I was quiet and shy, I was embedded in that school. And I think it comes back to being the character of being quiet and shy, is that the thought of having to move school and know no one was daunting
at that age.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So yeah, the school experience was interesting, and because of the location I lived, I didn't have that experience of going out with friends to the park after school and having a kick around with the footy or anything like that. Because it would be straight on the bus and straight back. We lived in a little village. The bus was one every hour, and it stopped at 6. Right. So if you weren't leaving Nottingham. If you weren't leaving Nottingham at 6 p.m, you weren't getting home.
I don't think Uber was around then.
And there was no Uber. And even then, I was a school kid, Max. So we were not affording Ubers.
Yeah. True. And, it's a real testament to the school that you wanted to stay that much, that you would make in that journey every single day. What was it about the school that really made you feel embedded and comfortable?
It's hard to pinpoint exactly what it is. I think what people don't understand, you'll have listeners here that aren't in the education sector, and it sounds a little cliche to say, but if we were to sit down and we were to think about it, if everyone was to sit down in silence for a minute and think about it, they can probably pinpoint that the most inspirational person they've ever met is their teacher. And just making sure that, you've got that right teacher that is giving you everything that they need, that you need in that moment in time is key. And you can set a child up for life for that. And I think that's definitely, I can sit here and think of 1 or 2 teachers at the school that I then went on to work with for a number of years as well, and have become good friends. And I'm privileged that I've been able to have that, because not everyone has that opportunity.
Absolutely. And it's a real hot topic on this podcast in particular, when we speak about people that have inspired you, motivated you, you've looked up to them as role models. There's a few famous videos that I often play in my office, actually. One of them is Ian Wright. You've probably seen the video where he meets his old teacher. And he's really, really emotional because of the impact that teacher had.
Beautiful.
Yeah. And another one is Adele. as well. I don't know if you've seen that one where her English teacher comes on stage with her. Again, really emotional and just shows the impact that a teacher can have. So if we just dive a little further then, can you tell us specifically about a particular teacher or a couple of teachers maybe that made an impact, but what exactly was that impact and why did they make that impact on you?
So I find the best teachers, and I speak honestly, there are some teachers that try too hard.
Mm.
And they have the best intentions, but maybe are there too much. It's those members of staff, those teachers that you just pass down the corridor and just knowing that they've gone, out mate, you're all right.
Yeah.
And just taking that moment, that subtle moment
Yeah.
to recognise you as an individual, is it to me makes the world of difference.
Yeah.
And that's exactly, if we were to go around the school today, you'd see that's exactly how I am. And there are a couple of members of staff within there, they don't care who you are, they don't care where you've come from or the personality you've got or how you're performing in terms of your grades. They just care about you as an individual. And, we know very well, Brooke.
Yeah.
And I got to work with him for a number of years afterwards and very, very closely towards my end of my career at that school. We're still in touch to this day.
Yeah.
Albeit it's a bit rare, but we both do our own things and we're still in contact and stuff, which again, I said earlier, is a privilege. For me, not everyone gets to leave school and then make friends with the teachers, their inspiration. But I had that fortunate opportunity of working there immediately after finishing.
Great. Well, big shout out to Mr. Brooke. We'll tag him in this video so he sees it. What was it about Mr. Brooke that, I'm sure he recognised you in the corridor, said hello, but there must have been something even deeper that actually made that connection between you and Mr. Brooke. Just tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, you don't realise it at the time, but he's authentic, and I think that's one of the key things is people being their authentic self. And I'm a big advocate and believer for it because if you're authentic, you're trusted.
Yeah,
and being trusted, especially when you are working with those types of students. We're talking about inner city schools here. We're talking about a city in an area that is quite severely deprived, and the demographics that come with that means that these children have already had some significant life experiences before we've got to us. So being authentic and not having care in the world and showing you've got your own personality as well, I would say is the deep meaning as to why, in particular, is my inspiration.
Yeah. No, thank you for sharing that. And I think being genuine is something I speak about a lot in the office because I don't even think just from a teaching perspective it's important. I think from any perspective in life, you can always tell if someone's genuine. And it brings me back to a point that I've spoke about again on a couple of podcasts about the interview stage and when you're recruiting for the right members of staff for your brand, for your school. How can you tell very quickly if someone is genuine or authentic? Because there's not really a script that you need to follow. There's an instinct that you can just tell with someone. But what are the characteristics that you would look for in the right person to work here at Alveston Moor?
It's a great question, and it's more interesting because it's stuff that we know in our head, but we don't ask ourselves. We know for the type of person that we're looking for to work at Alveston Moor, but we don't necessarily sit down and put that into paper. Job packs don't present that. And you're right, it's difficult. In an interview day is a snapshot of an individual. You're a business owner. You've done hundreds of interviews, much like I have.
Yeah.
And it's a quick snapshot. But we are looking for someone that, is not afraid to say they don't know something. They're not afraid to explain their weaknesses. There's a question I look asking all of the time, whether that's at work, whether that's in my voluntary work that I do outside of education, is what are your three strengths and what are your three areas of development? And you can that.
And I like how you didn't say weaknesses. We do the same.
Yeah, it's areas of development, and I don't mind personally opening up and saying I've got weaknesses. That's fine. I know some people find that difficult, and that's also okay. It can be a challenging word. Areas of development's a key one because a weakness can be developed. So it has the same fundamental meaning, but I agree, it's softer in its approach.
Yeah.
But recognizing what is more important about areas of development rather than the word weakness is that it allows the individual to tell us how they're going to work on it, not identify that they are not necessarily as good at something else than they are another thing, but it allows them to think and reflect on what are they going to do to improve on that as well. And I think, going back to the question, I think finding an individual that can express their areas of development is authentic. Going back to that word, I think we're going to find it a lot throughout this podcast.
Yeah.
Someone who is authentic, someone who is genuine, someone who is not afraid to say, I am the perfect candidate for this role.
Yeah.
And actually acknowledging, you got to do some work with me. That's fine. But here's what the experience I've got already, so I can get off to a good start. But here's what work you have to do with me, but here's what work I can provide you. And for me, that always sits well with me.
Yeah, and for me as well, from my experience, I would much prefer to take someone on that's honest about those areas, is coachable, manageable, rather than someone sat in front of me that I just know you're blagging and you're just trying to blag the life out of this interview. And usually you can tell. As you know, a lot of listeners on this podcast will be people that, do work in education, looking to work in education. Maybe they're brand new to teaching. Maybe they've got 20 years experience. What advice would you give to them if they were going to come to an interview here at Alveston Moor? The 3 key things that you would look for. Obviously, being authentic and genuine is going to be one of them. But what would you say 3 things that you would look for in someone coming to interview with you?
Yeah, you're right. Authentic and genuine is the top one that we look for. The second one that I'm a big advocate for is confidence. Mm-hmm. I need someone that, although we've expressed and we're talking about areas of development, I need someone that is confident in themselves. Mm-hmm. I need someone that can acknowledge and are proud of where they've come from and what they've achieved, and that they have the confidence that they can, and that they have the confidence that they can also challenge us at interview. What I don't like about interviews is when I interview and it's a one-way street, and we're sat there, we've got the panel of 3-4 members, however much that may be, and it just is firing questions. And I find it's a very awkward and uncomfortable situation. I don't want it to be that way. Yeah. So I always try at the start of my interviews to get to know the person individually, so I can try and put some counter questions in to them to respond back. Yeah. And questioners, ask us honestly, what is the job like on a day-to-day basis? Mm-hmm. Ask us what motivates me to come to Alveston Moor every single day. Ask me what my expectation is of the role. All of those sorts of things that you can't pinpoint the personality from a job pack, from an application form, but you can experience that within an interview. And I am a big advocate for that. And I want the style of interviews to change nationally, not within education, but in any industry, that they change, that they are a two-way street. Yeah. And we, as employers, are being honest in that. So having the confidence to be able to come back to them. And the third one is really getting involved. Recruitment processes in education are tough. It is not let's have an interview, you did all right, you've got the job. Yeah. There is tasks. Teachers will have to teach. You've got tours of the school. Senior leadership positions can go on for 2 days. You will have to do a break time. You'll have to do the on-call rota. You will have to deliver a middle leaders meeting or a line management meeting. And what I want from people is right down from the beginning of talk to our students. For you to gauge how you want this job, you need to talk to our students. Yeah. Because you need to gain their respect equally as much as they need to respect you. And you need to respect them. And there are so many times we conduct interview processes and we're conducting tours of the school and taking 5 or 6 candidates on a tour of the school, and they're just deadly silent. Yeah. And you want them to prove that they want to be here, that they can show that they can make the difference. Yeah. But also that they're gaining their own opinion on the school. Mm-hmm. Interviews aren't about just you being successful. You have the opportunity at any point during an interview process to go, actually, I've experienced this and this and this, and I don't think I'm suited to this position. Absolutely fine. Can't fault that. Yeah. And I've done that personally. Yeah. And I think, again, every employer should be able to embrace that.
Yeah, absolutely. So engagement, confidence, and being genuine and authentic.
They're the three.
They're the three. Love
They're
it.
the three.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing that. Okay, so you spoke to us about where you started, the business apprenticeship. Now you're in a completely different realm of the role and the career that you're at. Can you just talk us through the steps that came in between? So how did you know that you wanted to go from that apprenticeship and actually to sit in the seat that you're in today?
Yeah, I don't think my passion for being in education really started for a couple of years of me starting to work. Spoke about how I got into this job and how I landed it in the local authority. I would say essentially shafted me into coming back to where I started. And now, you look back and that's no regret.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful that I jumped at the opportunity. I was on a 1-year contract as my business admin apprenticeship. Then that came to the end, and still didn't want to leave Ellis Guildford. And I think that's because I got attached. That was now year 6.
Yeah.
I've done 6 years there, and actually, what is in the big wide world? Everyone of my age have started to do A levels, and I've done something completely different.
Yeah.
And it was a little bit daunting. So, I've just finished reading something at the time around how to become more confident, and one of the big things that they expressed, I'm a big believer of now, is faking your confidence. So, I went into the toilets. And I shook my blazer, and I smiled at myself, lifted my chin up, and I went into the business manager's office and said, I want you to keep me. I want a job, and this is where I want to go. And the next week I started as an ICT technician.
Right.
I moved over, started as an ICT technician. I was there in that role for about 15 months.
Do you think that role would have come about if you didn't go into that toilet,
No.
get yourself in the mirror and go and ask the question?
No, I don't think so. I don't think it would have. And I remember walking out of there thinking, you bloody did it, mate. You did it. You done something good today. And that was the first step, I think, of me gaining what you would see as my personality now, my confident self.
Yeah.
And so, the next week I started as an ICT technician, and that was a whole different ball game. It was technical and tough. And I could clearly see over the last 12 months that of that first apprenticeship that I could smash administrator jobs, and I was great at that. That was my skill set. I was fantastic.
Yeah.
I jumped into an ICT technician role, and I was a firm believer for a good 4 months. I was a firm believer that it was pot luck as to whether you would fix it or not.
Right.
I'd go to a classroom and I'd turn the projector on and off and go, it's got to be my day sometimes. It's got to be my day. And I'll be honest, I struggled. It wasn't my bag. It wasn't my skill set. And then I got the opportunity to deliver the European Computer Driving License course.
Right.
So a fairly popular course back then, now not so. It's essentially a course for anyone to learn Microsoft products. So there are 4 components. There is Word, PowerPoint, Excel, etc. And you are delivering essentially how to use these in an effective way.
Right.
And all of the tricks that comes with it. And that was genuinely my first calling. I loved it. Yeah. I loved, having, I think I did 4 hours a week, something like that.
This within school?
It's within school, yeah. So I did it to all the year 11. It's an entire year 11 cohort. So in the end, we had 220 pass. Most students didn't pass in the end. So we sat 220 through and got through it. And I absolutely loved it.
Yeah.
It was great. And that was the first time I realised that training, not necessarily teaching, but delivering a training course or something like that was my bag. That was my calling. That's what I wanted to be doing.
Yeah. And that was because the feeling you got from when the students passed, or actually just the confidence for you to deliver something now? It
was the confidence for me to be able to deliver it. We haven't spoken about, so outside of work, I volunteer within the Royal Air Force Air Cadets. So I run a squadron there. So twice a week, most weekends, I manage 10 volunteers and 60 children. We're delivering a set program that we've got to do, a progressive program we've got to do from the ages of 12 to 20.
Yep.
And also then training my staff as well. So, but again, I'm only doing that now because of what happened when we delivering this ECDL course.
Yeah.
And it was 100% the feeling of the satisfaction the students got. It was a school at the time that GCSE grades were not through the roof. They were below national average. We were struggling to get national average grade C at the time passes, what will now be called your grade 4s, your grade 5s, we were below average on those. So students were taking something home with them, something that they could be proud of. And I'm hoping, that they've managed to embrace that, because at the end of the day, it's one of the few things I think within a school that is teaching you your every single minute, day, life stuff that you're going to be doing. Answering your emails, writing a Word document, creating a PowerPoint, budgeting your life on a spreadsheet. That's what I do. I imagine you do that as well. And, now they can do that and write the formulas in, and they're not manually adding. I've got £1,000 in the bank and I'm taking £2,705 and 45p out and working the maths out automatically.
It goes such a long way having those skills. And I think actually in life, we're now coming to the next step of AI and having products that actually do it even better than those formulas did. And
AI is great, right?
It's crazy. It is crazy. And, we could be here all day speaking about AI and what it does and what's going to happen in the future and all the rest of it. But yeah, I think there's some skills that you absolutely need, not just for school, but life after school. No matter what situation you're going to get yourself into, these skills are gonna help you. So yeah, that's great. And at that stage in your career, then we're still quite a way off from, associate assistant principal. So what came next after the delivery of that course? What was the next step in your career?
Again, it was opportunities at Ellis Guildford, and this is why that place will always hold something close to me. That they were a catalyst to where my career is today. Completed many roles. It was 2018, June 2018, and I interviewed to become the marketing manager for the school. It's a rare job in a school. You don't really see it unless you're in a private school. You don't really see a marketing manager's role. However, it was needed at the time at the academy. And so I took on that role, and I loved it. I had freedom. It was a single person role. So it wasn't a department of people. That had business admin. There was 5 or 6 of us. ICT technicians. There were 2 or 3 of us. Now I was on my own. I had to create. It was a whole new experience. I had to create my own work. I had to prove myself. No one was coming to me and saying, I need you to do this, I need you to do this, I need you to do this. It was now me being imaginative and creating my own strategy, creating my own vision, and going to the head teacher and going, this is what I'm going to improve this school. And loved it. That was, it was great. And I was privileged that I was allowed that freedom, from the head teacher, and that head teacher will sit with me for forever in terms of when they came on board later down the line, as a true inspirational leader. And I loved every minute of working with them. Right. But yeah, marketing manager, loved it. Got the freedom, and I think that's where we really started to connect and started to work together. That's when we started working much closely together. And then things started just to spiral from there. I'd take on something else, so I'd then become the safety lead for the school, and then I'd become the data protection lead for the school. And then a new principal was coming in, or we were looking at the structure, and a couple of colleagues left the school and stuff. So as the principal was looking around, I was asked if I wanted to line manage the office manager as well, and that was my first step back into the office, the admin roots. And I did that for a short period of time. And then, unfortunately, my time at Ellis Guildford came to an end. That was my own personal choice. I sat down and I realised that I think it's time for me to explore somewhere else. Again, I've gained all of this confidence. I've gained all of this experience.
You've had this since year 7.
I've been there since year 7. And we're now talking. We've jumped a little bit, and we're now at 2020. I've now been there. For since 2010. I've been there 10 years. I was just turned 20. I've been there for 50% of my life, and it was getting to the point of you're going to be here forever if you don't do something. So so I looked around, and I was fortunate, very fortunate. I applied for one job, came up, office manager. I can do that. Back in the office roots, wicked. I can do that. Interviewed, appointed on the spot, and I was like, wow, wait a sec. I expected 50 rejections before I even got to one. And that gave me a huge ego boost, which I don't necessarily regret, but probably could have handled, a little bit differently. A little bit more calmer.
And that was a secondary school.
That was a
as well?
secondary school, still inner city, but it was at Bluecoat Woollerton. So I
Yes.
joined
Yep.
Archway Learning Trust,
Yep.
and became the office manager there. And again, continued working closely. I was the cover manager. Started working closely, and that was it was a culture change. You know, it's still an inner city school, but it's got a completely different demographic.
Yeah, even though it's not far from Ellis Guildford.
Not far. You know, you could walk there in 25 minutes, I
Yeah.
reckon, if
Yeah.
that. And you can get one of the Nottingham e-scooters. You can get there in 5.
Yeah.
You can. It's got a completely different demographic. You know, it's interesting. Bluecoat Woollerton. You'd stand, and if you look forward, you are looking at quite a deprived inner city area of Nottingham. You know, we're talking at Lenton, Bradford. You turn around, and you've got the beautiful grounds of Woollerton Park in the area of Woollerton, and so it's split. And to add to that, it's a Church of England school, so its admission arrangements, if we were to talk technical of education, its admission arrangements allows it to be selective. So yeah, it had its own challenges. I'd gone from a school essentially that would be classed as Ofsted stuck, coming from inadequate to RI to back to inadequate, which requires improvement, etc. To look at Woollerton that had managed to get outstanding in its first ever Ofsted. And so yeah, that was. I hadn't experienced it before.
Yeah, proud moment.
Yeah, hadn't experienced it before, and it was interesting. And again, a great move in my career.
Great.
It allowed me outstanding line management opportunities. I had a fantastic line manager myself there, and you know, I went from line managing one office manager to being the office manager. I'm actually line managing 6.
Yeah.
And realizing how much difficult that actually is.
Yeah.
You know, and so yes, I did 2 years there.
Great.
And then the vacancy of academy manager came up at Alveston Moor, and I didn't apply.
Right.
And then they didn't appoint. And then the applications opened, and they didn't apply.
Right.
I didn't think it was quite the time. And then I got a phone call, and they said, "Just do it." I don't like. Why have we had to go out twice, and we still haven't had your application?
Yeah.
Go for it. Let's see.
Which again is a massive compliment.
It's a big compliment,
Yeah.
and it was like, look, let us see what you've got at interview, and we'll go from there. And it's a big jump, you know. Academy manager is a variation of a traditional school business manager, and got the invite to interview, and they said you need to create a 9-month plan. What are you going to achieve in 9 months? I thought, wow, I've got 2 days to figure out a plan. What am I going to achieve? What am I personally going to achieve that is going to better me and the academy within 9 months? I've got 48 hours to do this, and I don't know what the job is. I don't know what I've got to do. It's a big jump up. You go from managing 6 people just on administration functions to managing the local procedures of HR, finance, IT, catering, governance, all of those sorts of stuff. And then sitting around the senior leadership table as well. But I did it, and I have in my office, I've got that PowerPoint that I delivered printed out.
Really?
Yeah, I've been
as a reminder.
Yeah, I've been here 15 months now.
Yeah.
But I've still got that PowerPoint printed in my office. I look back at it every now and then, and I'm pleased. I managed to complete most of that within 9 months.
Yeah, that's great. And I think there's a quote that Richard Branson says. I'm not sure of the exact quote, but it's something along the lines of, if you get asked a question you don't know the answer, say yes and figure it out. You know, and it sounds like that's what you've done, and obviously progressed no end now in the position you're in now.
It's interesting, you know, your reference, Richard Branson, is a huge idol of mine. If he listens to this, then
we'll tag him.
And if he wants to get me to Necker Island, I'll be there.
Yeah, that would be good. And you know, it sounds cliche, but what it does really sound like is all the parts of your journey have actually now come together, and all the experiences that you've had in all these different roles are now adding to the role that you're currently sat in. Would you say that's true? Yeah,
absolutely. And you don't realise it at the time. You don't realise that everything is going to connect and it's all going to come together, but it 100% has. And you know, I'm extremely proud of my career, and I love my job. But more importantly, you know, I love Alveston Moor. It's an outstanding school. It's fantastic.
Amazing. And you know, that does bring me on to my next point about Alveston Moor. What would you say the best thing about working at Alveston Moor is?
The students. It's without question. You know, they will not fail to put a smile on my face every single day. Just with, you know, some of the quirky stuff that they say, or it will be a, a shining star moment. You know, they will say something, you're like, wow, I didn't even realize that you appreciated and you valued that. Various times, and everyone in education does this. They go home and gone, I haven't made a difference today.
Yeah.
And you always think that, because you always go, well, this person didn't listen to me, or they didn't take that piece of advice, and it's been the same for 2 weeks. And then there is just that. Only happens, honestly, it happens 5-6 times a year. You get that shining star moment, and it brings that little tear to your eye. I'm not an emotional person, but it brings that little tear to your eye, and that's when you go,
that's why you're doing
that's why I'm here. I'm here for that kid and that kid and that kid, and collectively they are a fantastic group of children. We're in an area in Derby that, again, demographically extremely deprived. We sat around this table recently, and we were discussing figures of employment in the local area and what we're going to do to increase the career opportunities for our students. And a stark statistic was that around 30% of adults living in this area have never been in employment.
Wow.
And, you know, we are trying our hardest here to break that trend. And this is what people don't realise about schools. We're not just here to educate those who are in our building currently, but we're here to make a difference within the community. And everything that we do and every decision that we make is not just about whether it has an impact on the children. Does it have an impact on the parents? Does it have an impact on the families? And can we make this community better?
Yeah, and I think one of the challenges is, correct me if I'm wrong, but, you know, changing the mindsets of families for generations and what they've done. I'm not necessarily saying it's wrong what they've done, not at all. But can we put a different perspective on some of the minds of the young people to say, actually, I didn't even realise that was possible, but it is, thanks to what I've been doing at school and, you know, what I'm being taught, who I'm around and who's inspiring me.
Yeah, absolutely. It is a challenge, and it frustrates me slightly in the fact that what I see travelling, I travel over from Nottingham every day, so I travel through some fantastic places to get here, including, you know, you can walk out of Alveston Moor, 10 minutes, you've got 2 different Rolls-Royce sites, some of the largest industry companies in the world are on our doorstep, and our students deserve to be project managers or engineers, developers within Rolls-Royce. We've got Bombardier and Alstom all within walking distance of where we are, and there are some fantastic career opportunities. And what I would essentially plead to these companies is stop looking for people to travel into Derby and look at the talent that you can train within Derby.
Yeah.
And, you know, as I say that, I will make reference to the fact that we do work closely with Rolls-Royce, and they do come in every week to do some maths with our students and stuff. But look at the talent that we've got.
Yeah.
And if you've made a decision to build your business, build your brand within Derby, so be proud of that, recognise that, and, you know, train talent within
Absolutely.
Derby. They deserve it.
Absolutely. And you know, a few moments ago you referenced shining star moments, which I absolutely love. Could you, without sharing too much detail, could you share with us, you know, 1 or 2 moments that really stand out to you whilst you've been here at Alveston Moor, that, you know, for the listeners to hear as an example?
Yeah. So there is this one student, he's in year 8, and I know that, you know, my colleagues will listen to this and they'll be like, oh, he's talking about so-and-so, because they basically, I've developed this nickname around school where there's me and then there's mini me.
Right. Okay.
And we don't wander the school unless we're wandering the school together. It's something special. And look, don't get me wrong, frustrates the life out of me, Max. He does. But English is an additional language, and fluency within English isn't the best, and therefore written English or be able to read English is also not particularly great. And having those small interactions, those small sessions with him, they are some of the most of the shining star moments. You know, I remember when he joined us in year 7 and couldn't write, and is now writing for us. You know, in small paragraphs is writing for us. Couldn't read, but will now read statements to us. Will come into my office every single day and write a sentence on my whiteboard, and then run away with a little cheeky smile on his face. You know, they're the moments that we've made a difference there. That is a child that if you were to put them into a class of 30, there is a chance that still would not be able to read and write. and by having that one individual who is sat in their office, they can come to, and just do that, go away and crack on with the rest of their school day is amazing.
Yeah.
There was another time, and this time will never leave me. There is a guitar in the principal's office. My office is next to the principal's. There's a door into lining, and he comes in. He's upset. He's run out of lesson. He misbehaved, and he's come down to me, and he sat there, and then he runs into the head's office, and I thought, this is not going to be good. Picks up this guitar, comes back in, and I've never heard a more beautiful piece of music played. Just got the guitar and started playing straight away, and it was beautiful. We'd found a click with this child. This child is a musician, and everything about this child that we had seen as a challenge, an area for development, being English as additional language, didn't matter. It doesn't matter with music.
Yeah.
And it's not a barrier.
And you didn't realise it.
We didn't realise it.
Yeah.
And that's a shining star moment when you realise something about an individual that you don't. You've got a fantastic musician here who we thought we would have to spend 5 years working on to read and write. And don't get me wrong, that's a priority. But first and foremost, this child's a musician.
Yeah.
And we need to embrace that.
Amazing moment, I bet that was. You remember the song?
I can't remember the song. I want to say it's got something to do about Paul Collins, but I can't remember.
Yeah.
I can't remember.
Yeah, great. Okay, and then on the flip side then, can you tell us a little bit about the most challenging moments, and what was the hardest part about your role at the moment?
So you want the challenging part now?
Yeah.
Or the challenging part overall over the 10 years?
Now. Yeah, I'd like to know right now, because it's a very, very busy schedule that you've got. You're spinning a lot of plates.
Is I'd say there are two things. There is a huge, and I'll call it a crisis, or a huge crisis in teacher recruitment. Nationally, there are not enough teachers to train our children. And it saddens me. And there are programs out there to try and tackle that the government are leading, and we all appreciate everything that they're doing to try and do that. Whether there's more to do, I think there is, but getting qualified teachers who want to be in this profession is our biggest challenge. Our children, not just our children at Harvester Moor, but every child across this country deserves to have 5 hours a day of a qualified teacher. That's what they deserve. And at the minute, I think there are very few schools in the country that can deliver on that. And that will sadden any business manager, any head teacher, in any school. And that's a huge challenge for us. The second one is student attendance. We are still recovering from COVID-19. Any school is, and student attendance is nowhere near at the national average of what it used to be back in 2019, 2018. We're talking what we think are small figures, but when you're talking millions of children, then they're huge. You're talking that national attendance is currently 4 or 5% down from what it was back in 2018. And there are significant amount of children who are not receiving an education because of elective home education routes and stuff like that. And again, that's a big challenge. We're professionals in this industry. We are advocates that every child should be inside of a school every single day. And that's what we want. And that's what we're striving for. So that is probably our biggest area of work within Harvester Moor at the minute, is to get children in school on time, wanting to learn.
Absolutely. And on the recruitment piece, that's something obviously I work with a lot. We're really trying to combat that issue. Is there a shortage? Yeah, absolutely. And we're constantly working on that day in, day out. What are the things as a school that you're looking to do in order to combat that issue and bring teachers in? I know you mentioned overseas staff.
So we've one of the biggest projects, I'd say this is one of my proudest moments in my career, is that we appointed some overseas talent starting for September 2024, so for this academic year. And it was a huge eye-opener. We've got teachers here now who just 9 months ago were teaching in Jamaica, they were teaching in South Africa, they were teaching in Ghana, and they are passionate about what they do. They are passionate educators, so therefore they've made the decision to do that somewhere else in the world. couple of things for the experience, whatever. Ultimately, they be able to do that. You are passionate in what you do. So we interviewed them online. We appointed them, gone through all of the checks, got them into the country, and now they're teaching here. And I can't begin to tell you or even imagine how much of a move that is.
Yeah.
These 5 people have left their families at home and travelled thousands of miles across the world to teach here at Alveston Moor Academy. And if that doesn't make anyone proud within Alveston Moor Academy, then I'm not sure what will. And the experience that they bring and the different experiences, not just from their own education, but from how the education system is run in Jamaica or South Africa or Ghana, is completely different. And we have learnt a lot.
Yeah.
You know, we've learned a lot. Not to say we've had to put in a lot of our own professional development for them,
Of course.
to get them apt to our education sector, but it's allowed us to really reflect on what are we privileged in,
Yeah.
and what do we take for granted,
and
what can we actually learn from? What do they do well in a school in Jamaica that we can do here? We can bring here, and it really is one of the proudest moments of my career to date.
Great. And it's great to hear that, you know, as an organisation, you're looking outside of the box and bringing people to the area of Derby, particularly Alveston Moor, to make a difference and make an impact on these young people. So great. Okay. And, you know, we've spoke a lot about people within Alveston Moor, your role, and leadership seems to be a big part of that. What do you think the key things within leadership are, and what makes a good leader here at Alveston Moor?
I was talking to my principal about this yesterday. We were looking at we have a bi-weekly meeting where we essentially talk about all the staff across the academy and what we can do to either move staff around to tackle new priorities, or to further develop those staff. And we were talking about leadership styles. And I suppose this is probably why this word's coming up a lot. But she said to me, Zach, you're a true, authentic leader. You're your true self. You are who you are, and that allows people to trust you easily and quickly. And once you've built that trust, you've got the buy-in. You're there. You can make as many decisions as you want. On 99% of the time, you've got the back-in. You're going to win the race. And so that's probably why that word's come up a lot in the podcast. But and she's absolutely right. You know, I don't want leaders to tell me something that necessarily isn't the truth, because I don't feel as if they have the confidence to do so, or they're not empowered to do so. Empowerment's a big thing for me, and for any member of my team. You know, I don't like things to be where there is me as one sole decision maker across any of the remits that I manage within the school. I want the exams officer to be empowered to make decisions around exams. I want the office manager to be able to feel confident and have the ability to make decisions. And
naturally, when they feel like that, they're going to make the better decisions.
Absolutely. I don't want them to go, I'm not sure what Zach's going to think about this. I need to put it by him and see what he says. You know. I'm managing several functions across the school, and as much as I want to every single day put my head into every single function across the academy, it's not always possible. You know, there is a priority in a certain area, and I might have to focus on that all day long, and therefore I can't go to the admin office to make decision X, Y, X.
You can only do so much.
Yeah, exactly. So, great leadership is being authentic, having that buy-in, and empowering your staff.
Yeah, amazing. And moving forward then, and looking forward into the future, what changes would you like to see in education as a whole, but more specifically your school here at Alveston? What changes do you think are coming in the next few years?
So we've got a huge vision at Alveston Moor, is and it's our line is we want to be the best school in the country. And I think every school should want to do that, but we are actively striving for it. You know, we want to provide choice and opportunity to our students. And we want this to be a school where every child across the local area wants to come here. And that's a huge culture change, because that's not currently the case. We're, I would say, competing with another school which is just 500 metres down the road. It's really close. So that's the biggest thing I want to see. I want us to be able to see it and achieve it. I want us to be able to submit our application for Best School of the Year for the TES Awards, for us to be shortlisted. We go down as one big united team,
Yeah.
and we get on that stage and
Yeah.
we take that trophy home, because every single member of our staff deserves that,
Yeah.
because of the work, the hours that they put in.
Yeah.
They deserve that trophy.
And what I love about it is I can tell you mean it and you're being
Yeah.
authentic, because that smile that comes on your face as you're describing it, as you're describing that moment.
Yeah, it's a big thing, because again, SLT happens on a Wednesday night, and it was only last night. We were recording this on a Thursday. It was only last night we were talking about what we put into an application for Best School of the Year.
Yeah.
You know,
Great.
it's
So
on
you're
our
actively having those conversations.
it's on our minds, and trust me, we'll get down to the TES Awards.
Great. Watch this space. I
Yeah.
like it. Okay, and for you personally, then, it seems like the next stages of your career in front of you. There's potentially headship roles. I'm not saying that you're going to try and take the job here, but for you, have you got ambitions to keep progressing? And if so, have you got any specific roles in mind that you want to be at in, X number of years?
Yeah, I'm extremely work driven. I don't stop. The only time I stop is when I've treated myself to a when I've treated myself to a sea holiday,
Yeah.
and I've got the sun, and I've got a pint in my hands.
Yeah.
That's the only time I want to stop. Other than that, I want to work all the time.
Yeah.
Because I'm passionate about what I do. So being very work driven, therefore, means yes, I want to progress. I'm mid-20s, and that in itself, I'm extremely proud to be in my mid-20s and sat around a senior leadership team table in a secondary school. Yeah, the question of what's next comes in my head a lot, and I've got the relationship with Gemma, my head teacher, whereby we talk about that. I would say on a daily basis.
Right.
We talk about it as to what's next, and the answer is, it's a little uncertain. And what do I actually want to do? Think that I'd love to train to teach.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm a non-teacher. Support staff is what you call them within the industry.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, if I want to progress any further, that's the avenue I want to go down.
Yeah.
Some would say, well, that's a step backwards, or it's a side step, and it may well be, but the opportunities that will then provide in 5-6 years' time,
Or another string to your bow.
yeah, exactly. And the opportunities that provide later down the line, I think that's another opportunity I'd like to explore.
Yeah.
And I'm not always doing it. And every decision I make around my career is not necessarily whether it's progression, but whether it's a good opportunity and whether it's something I think I'd enjoy.
Yeah.
Because it's not, at the end of the day, for me, it's not all about the money.
Yeah.
I'm fortunate enough that where I am now, I'm comfortable.
Yeah.
And can get through, and I don't need, the next big pay rise and go out and buy the brand new Audi or anything like that. I'm happy with what I've got.
Yeah.
And if it does mean having that perception of taking a step back to do something else that is more of a passion and a project, then I'm willing to do that.
Yeah, and I think it's important. Anyone working within education needs to be doing it for the right reasons. And if you're not, it's probably not the sector for you.
Yes, absolutely.
Great. Well, look, that is the end of that questioning. Before we finish, I've got some quick fire questions. That's all right.
Go for it.
You ready for these? Okay, let's get straight into it then. So number one, what is your go-to coffee order?
Well, it has to be a Starbucks any day of the week,
Yeah.
and it's got to be a large vanilla latte, almond croissant.
Lovely. There's a new one around the corner, isn't there?
Yeah, it's up there, and it's breaking the bank.
Yeah, I bet it is. Okay, next one, a little bit different. Number two, your go-to karaoke song.
You don't want to hear me singing, so you will never catch me on the karaoke. However, favourite song of all time, Hey Jude.
Hey Jude. No rendition today, though.
Mm.
Okay, number three, best book or podcast that you've recently listened to.
Oh, I'm going to go for both. So, podcast. I am a big fan of the Overlap podcast.
Yeah,
It's on all
great
the time.
podcast.
All the time it's on. More so when Jamie Neville gets it in the neck by the rest of him, that. And Roy Keane's just an icon. Best book, recently read Radical Candor,
Okay.
which is a fantastic leadership book. completely recommend it to all the listeners.
Okay, great. Thank you. Number 4, one thing that you cannot live without at work.
Coffee machine.
Yeah.
It's everyone's answer,
Even
right?
after a morning Starbucks.
Even after the morning Starbucks, that coffee machine is used by me by 10 a.m.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Number 5, if you could have dinner with any historical figure, who would it be?
This one's easy. It's got to be Sir Winston Churchill.
Yeah.
Surely.
Yeah.
The times we're in the world currently, the type of leader that he was, yeah, a conversation with Sir Winston
Yeah.
Churchill would be outstanding.
Great. Number 6, what's your guilty pleasure TV show?
Do you know what I absolutely love? And I think I've watched it 4 times in the last 5 months. Ted Lasso.
Yeah.
I quote this all the time. It is not a football show.
Yeah.
That is a show of community, belonging,
Yeah.
passion. It's outstanding.
Ted Lasso. There we go. Get it on. Number 7, you've mentioned beach holidays and sun holidays. What is your dream holiday destination?
Do you know, all the time. I'm a sucker for going to the same places all the time. I love Lanzarote.
Yeah.
Absolutely beautiful place. However, I've said it once. I'm going to endorse it again. Sir Richard Branson. Necker Island is calling.
Yeah, that's the one. Number 8, what is the best piece of advice that you've ever received?
Tough one.
Tough on the spot, I know.
You put that in the quick fire, and that brings it to a stop. I imagine that does it all the time.
Yeah.
Every time you ask that one.
It's a tough one.
Slows quick fire right down. Head teacher at Ellis Guildford. He was a very experienced individual. I think we were his 4th headship. He told me to never lose confidence in myself and what I want to do. And he basically told me, I won't repeat it word for word, but he basically told me that no other person's opinion on you matters.
Yeah, it's a game of opinions.
Yeah.
Okay, number 9, if you could switch job for a day with anyone, what would it be?
I've got this thing in the back of my head. It's out there. I would love to be a farmer.
A farmer?
Yeah. Again, comes back to the piece earlier of freedom, own imagination, creating your own vision, delivering on that, working for yourself. I'm work driven anyway, so I'd be out there, sun, rain, shine, any of that, morning and night, all weathers. Give that a go.
I can make that happen. I've got a good few farmer friends.
Yeah, I've heard.
Have you seen the Jeremy Clarkson show?
Yeah, absolutely. I even had to drive down there myself. I was one of those people that was in the queue for 6-7 hours for a pint of milk and some of his honey.
Yeah, love it. Hey, and then the final one then, number 10, sum up your leadership style in 3 words.
I think you know where this is coming. The first one, I'm authentic. I'm genuine. And I like to develop others. So, bring that down to a word, I'm a developer.
Yeah.
That's what I do.
Amazing. Well, look, what a way to end. That is a wrap. Thank you again for coming on the podcast. Really, really appreciate it.
I've loved it. Thanks much. Cheers.
Cheers, Zach.